Protect that energy. Protect that energy, man. Protect that energy in your life. Don't be an individual that no matter where you're at, no matter who you're with, you are completely dependent on everybody else's energy around you. Be an individual whose energy transforms the room around them. Be an individual who your energy is so strong, so powerful, so influential that others around you have almost have no choice but to rise up or to raise up to where you are, where your energy is holding their attention at. You see, this is a process for all of us, but I believe it's one of the most important processes that we go through, or that we can choose to go through. And to give you a little bit of context on my pathway and my process of learning how to protect my energy. Well, to keep it simple for episode 1, it's gonna be episode 1. Let's talk about my jobs, my different occupations throughout the years, where I worked at, and how protecting my energy was extremely important from early on. You see, I got my first job at 15. It's a pizza shop, right? I had done some, miscellaneous work before then with my dad and that kind of thing. But this was like my first like real job, so to say, something that was consistent, something that was, the same pay, that kind of thing, same employees. It was at a pizza shop, like I mentioned, and this was an interesting place, right? I mean, we all ran around crazy and did whatever we wanted halfway because it was a ton of teenagers working in this restaurant. But the management was strict to a degree whenever they chose to be, right? Outside of that, it was kind of lenient, right? But even in there, I remember very early on, I always wanted to be a hard worker. I always was a hard worker. I never wanted to let someone down, so to say, if they gave me an opportunity. So that was my mindset in this job. I was like, I'm going to do my best. Yeah, I fucked off here and there, but when it came to working, I got to it. I didn't let that slide. I didn't let it, I hated to see someone screwing off. It just aggravated me, right? So in this environment full of teenagers, full of messing off and being, playing jokes and doing whatever else, for the most part, I mean, yeah, I had plenty of fun too, but for the most part, when it was work time, I was protecting that energy. I was making sure that I was working. I was doing my thing, and I didn't let the energy of someone else's fuck it, I don't want to work, I'm not going to do it. I didn't let that affect me very much. I had this strong urge to avoid that sense of, well, whatever, right? I never let that get in my way. Again, I'll say it a third time, I had plenty of fun while I was working there too. So I did my fair share of screwing off when there was time to do so. That's a very simple example, right? Time went on. I worked several different jobs. First one that came to mind next, I worked at I did electrician work, first thing out of high school. And I had a teacher that helped me get this job. It was great. Well, I was very grateful, I should say. But I got into the job, and the people I worked with were just negative as hell, just very negative people. And it was extremely hard for me to protect my energy working with these people. It was to the point where I was hating work every day. I was very much not enjoying it at all because of these guys that I was working with most of the time. Because of their energy, because of their way of being. I didn't want to be around it. Did not want to be around it, right? Well, what happened? I ended up leaving there, quit there, so on and so forth. And right after that, I had several different jobs in this time, but on the topic of what we're talking about, this is the energy protection, right? I didn't like these guys at this job. I didn't like their energy, the way their energy was, expressed to me. So I didn't want to pick up on that. I didn't want to be around these guys. So I left. Right? Didn't feel like the best decision at the time because I needed a job, but I knew that I didn't want to be around these guys. Right? So then I had a friend, my friend's brother, helped me out and get a job doing countertop work, right? So I came in here, I had this renewed mindset. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let anything here get me down. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to make the most of this friend's opportunity that he helped me get me. And I'm going to I'm going to be me, man. I'm going to work my ass off as always, like I did the other job too. Well, turns out the people at that job, they were much, much easier to get along with than the people at the other job, the previous job. We had much more fun. It was a less negative environment, right? So I was there for 2 years. And probably around the 8, 9, 10 month mark, maybe year mark, somewhere around there, I was beginning to realize the need for energy protection there as well. You see, before this, we would go drinking. We'd go out drinking, go do this kind of thing. After work, at the end of the workday. And I was at a point when I was 19, 20. I was just having my daughter, or about to have my daughter. And I had drank plenty before then. Wasn't of legal drinking age yet. But I started realizing that I didn't want to be a drinker. I didn't want to have drinking in my life so consistently. I didn't like the effect it had on me and my girl, our relationship. I didn't like how it had me staying out much later. I didn't like how I felt in the mornings. I didn't like coming home and being messed up and just going straight to sleep and not having time with my girl. Right? So these things started bugging me, bringing me down. I realized how low my energy was at times when I was, such a high vibrational person to begin with. Well, I say high vibrational. I mean, my energy was pretty high. I've always been positive. Always been a positive poly. So on and so forth. Time passed. I left there, came back. It was a different environment, a little bit different environment. It was a different work day to day. I was at the same job, but a different work day to day. But then I was with a different group of people. And I got along fine with this whole group of people. But as time went on, and I continued to grow and progress and develop, this whole time I'm working on myself in the background. I'm reading. I was in trading for a while. I was just doing all these things to develop myself and put myself in somewhat uncomfortable positions. Not terribly uncomfortable. I wasn't ready to grow that much yet. But, I was doing all this in the back scene. That was another part of why I didn't like drinking, because if I was out drinking, I wasn't going to come home and work on myself. I was going to come home and chase whatever other pleasure, right? Or just go to sleep. But whatever, I'm going through this whole process. I'm developing myself and becoming more of who I want to be. And I begin to realize the negative influence that the people around me could have. I began to realize that those who were surrounding me in that position, they were in their position. They had chose to be there, and they were comfortable. I wasn't comfortable there. I saw that I could be, and that what it would lead to. I didn't want that. I didn't want that whatsoever. So I continued down this process. I continued down this plan, but I began to protect my energy more and more. I began to separate myself from those there. I wasn't talking with them as much. I worked on myself. I read when I could, when I had time at work. I read my books. I worked on myself. I did my thing. I stayed in my own energy zone because I could in that job. Not all jobs you can do that as easily. I had a pretty cool spot there because I busted my fucking ass for it, and it happened to work out. But again, I began to protect my energy more and more. Right? And then, well, I was, like I mentioned, I was doing trading. My plan was to quit the job with trading. And you got to have capital to do trading, right? And so I was like, all right, well, something's got to change. And I had got my life insurance license before that. So I said, fuck it. I burned the boats and I jumped straight into life insurance. Just quit the job and got around entirely new environment. One that I created. I mean, it was work from home. It's work from home. So, jumped into a new environment. I'm saying all this to bring up and shine light on and protecting the energy. protecting how you feel around others, around how your paradigm will be constructed based on everything you're around. You see, if I didn't begin to or continue to remain in control of who I believe myself to be earlier on at this job when I was drinking, and I allowed myself to fall more into the drinking, it would have shifted my entire trajectory. Right? Instead of allowing myself to become a drinker with my friend and always go out drinking all the time, like most people do at 19, 20, right? Instead of doing that more and more and kind of saying fuck it to me and my girl's relationship and just not caring, instead of doing that, I remained in the driver's seat. I said, nah, now don't get me wrong, I wasn't perfect by any means, made plenty of mistakes in that time, but slowly but surely I made my way out of it. I made it clear that I didn't want to be a certain way. I made it clear to myself. And slowly but surely I made progress down that path, to the point where I could leave the job eventually, where it's the point where I had separated myself from the emotional relationship to the job and to the friends I had there as much, and was more emotionally connected to my plan and purpose, to my sense of accomplishment within myself, to my ability to get out of situations that I didn't want to be in. You see, I didn't allow that comfortability. I didn't allow that sense of whatever to maintain too long in my mind. I stayed in the driver's seat. I protected my energy, and I kept moving forward. And there's nothing about this entire process that I just described to you that I changed, other than maybe doing it sooner. But even then, like, I'm grateful for the entire process. It has been, every part of it. So, again, this is part one. This is just a simple description of how I protected my energy early on and how it allowed me to escape my 9 to 5, my my basic understandings that I had from different jobs, from just starting working. And yeah, I'm gonna make another video on this, kind of go in depth, and we're gonna make it a series of some kind. So, guys, it's Tuesday morning here. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Go crush it. Go get after your dreams. Go do your stuff. Go protect that energy, man. Protect that energy and make a decision to chase after that higher self, that sense of self that is actually you. Don't fall into the trap of mediocrity. Don't fall into the sense that you may feel at your normal job that is whatever. We're comfortable here. We got it good. If you're not happy, make a difference. Make sure you're grateful enough, but also know where you want to be. Know where you don't want to be, and protect that energy. Let's go get them, guys.